All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this developer update. It's been a while, so I'm glad we finally got it on. Lots of things have been changing behind. So everybody that's on this specific call are the chairs of the developer Starfish. As you all know, there's 3 branches of the embassy. There's developer, ambassador, and judicial. So this is an update from each of the chairs of developers. So I'm chair of the TAO. Then we got Kui, right? Kui, is that correct? Kui? Yeah. Okay, so we got Kui. He's the interface. He's the interface chair. Kendall is the logical layer chair, and then Andrew Hatstad is the mining chair. So there's been lots of things going on in the background. I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about 5.1. So that's pretty much just wrapped up. I'm refactoring the user's API right now, which is the last little bit of code that needed some should wrap up into client mode and stuff. So that's gonna last a little bit. I've just been mucking through. So that's pretty close to being polished. So I'm wrapping a lot of that up today so that I can pass it on to Kui and Kendall so they can get some work on it. And then pretty much just have a couple little things like we have a weird issue with the SSL versions and stuff like 1.1.1 versus 1.0.2. So I got a couple little tidy up things there. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty close to go. And I've been doing a lot of 6.0 work at the same time. So over this last, I think it was over Christmas. I love Christmas time because nobody bothers me. I'm just like, yeah, I can code. So I got pretty deep in an atomic library. So for anybody that doesn't know what that means, atomic is atom, right? It's derived from Greek, which means it's instruction, right? Like you have tooth memory location, you get race conditions, right? So if you have atomic instructions, then you don't need locks. So I got at least 3, 4, 5 times faster just by building a lockless DQ and stuff like that, which lockless code is very rare. It is very difficult to do correctly because lots of things can happen and blow up really fast. I managed to get it. I got a double-ended queue with a single width compare and swap, changed 2 pointers. So that was a huge, huge step because basically fundamental data structures are used in everything, right? I mean, you use queues, all the way down into operating systems, okay? And if you have to have multiple processes accessing these fundamental data structures at the same time, you usually have to lock it, right? And locks come with, lots of potential issues like deadlocks, if locks lock and then it locks the thread and then it's stuck, right? So lockless coding has an atomic library for is because there's nothing really out there. You'll find like single producer, single consumer queues and some basic stuff. I think Facebook has like one type of lockless object that they've built, right? And Google, I think, but there's really not much out there, right? So I figured let's build a really solid lockless library because that touches every point of Nexus, right? And so if you got your queue 3, 4 times faster and you're using a queue in all these different threads, now you've got an incredible performance increase and it's a higher level of reliability, right? You don't have to worry necessarily about getting deadlocks or anything like that. And you can really hammer it. And the other thing too is it scales linearly. If you have locks, right, you could get like double the throughput with 2 threads, but then you get to 4 threads and then it's going to taper off, right? Because you get what's called lock contention. So everybody's fighting over that one lock. And so, you don't really get multi-threaded performance with locks is really get like, hey, I do 4 threads, I have twice as much. I do 16 threads, I have twice as much, right? The way to really get that is through this lockless code, but it's been, you only have so many instructions in your CPU to do it, right? Like when I said single compare and swap, right? Like I have to change 2 pointers in a lockless atomic way with only like 1 pointer being able to be changed at a time. But it works, right? And the atomic pointer works now too, which is like some of these things were things that I was beating my head on back in May. And so it was really cool. That was actually for me anyway, a huge achievement to be able to reach that because that touches everything like maps, queues, sets, everything. Like these are fundamental data structures that are used, like I said, all the way down into operating systems all across Nexus. We use maps everywhere. We use sets everywhere. We use queues everywhere. So, these being fundamental data structures that are used everywhere in the code makes sense. So So I've been working on this stuff. The lower level database is pretty much wrapped up. The only thing I'm doing is just a little bit of multi-threading performance. So if you guys remember, I've posted some screenshots. I got the lower level database to scale linearly too. So when I say scale linearly, I mean 2 threads gives you twice the throughput, 4 threads gives you 4 times the throughput, 8 threads gives you 8 times the throughput. With like normal, like I was saying, you could go 2 threads would maybe be like 1.5 times, and 4 threads would be like 1.75 times, and 8 threads would be 1.8 times. That's usually how it scales with locks. So this is a huge, it's going to be a huge performance increase, right? So, and with the lower level database as well, that being constant time and stable now, I decided to get the multi-threading performance up. I got it, I think, to 1.1 million reads multi-thread just with some basic, and you can actually control the lock granularity down to the block of the file. So it's consistent. Means like your software is a little bit incorrect. If you're trying to store like, you only have 64-bit registers and you're trying to store 72 bits, you're always going to be amortized because you're going to have to store in 2 registers, right? So fitting with the hardware. So it fits with the hardware really, really well. And I mean, just pages, right? Paging is just off the memory. Like your disk will dump data from your disk into your spare RAM and page it, is that what it's called, so that you don't always have to hit the disk. So just running off of paging, right? Multi-threaded paging, I was getting 2 billion pages per second just off of the memory. So really, really, really fast. So that's what I've been really focusing on 6.0. The foundation of it is multi-threaded performance. Tritium as the base is just uses basic locks. So you get some multi-threaded performance, but not really to the level that I would really want. So that's what this 6.0 update is really going to hit, as far as like the fundamental structures. And so I cleaned up there's lots of different things, 6.0, and then I just have to really build out the pooled staking, and then that should be ready to rip. All the fundamental stuff is the difficult stuff is done. Like, the atomic lockless library, that was very, very difficult. That's one of the reasons I did it, because there's nothing out there, and it was fun and it was challenging. The lower level database, same thing. So those are like really fundamental, challenging things that have been done right now. So it's just some basic. We got the Nexus scripts and the pooled staking, and then finishing stabilizing the 5.1 update. I've added variables into the query language as well. So like if you want to do date range selection, like I want to select all the transactions between this date and this date, instead of having to convert to a Unix timestamp, you can just use the date variable. It's like a function. You do date and then you type in the actual date function name, and it'll calculate that for you. You can also reverse calculate names, variables, and it's easily expandable. So we've got a lot of functionality in our query language now that you would see in just about any database system. Variables, the queries, everything. I mean, and you can, if you guys don't recall, you can search the entire blockchain now in about 1 second. I can go, I want to find every name that starts with the letter L, and it'll find it, right? So we have full contextual blockchain search now, which is really important for decentralized search, for indexing. I mean, even when you're starting to make assets, right, and put your NFTs for sale. The peer-to-peer market is working. It's been running BEF for about 2-3 months. So they have a whole carbon credit trading exchange now running on the peer-to-peer marketplace. It runs really smooth, pretty quick, just ironing out a couple little kinks. But that got all the indexing in, and I did a lot of really, really deep dive speed improvements too. Like I got rid of all the now it's all indexed. You have reverse lookups for names and everything, so you don't search to find a name record that wasn't correlated and everything. So it's really I'm really happy with how it's turned out and how it's been coming together. So that should be, I don't know the exact time when it's going to be done, because we're kind of in the debugging phase right now, and debugging can be probabilistic to say the least. Like you never fully know when it's going to be solved. But yeah, so it's getting pretty close though. So I'm pretty excited about it, and I'm really happy to have broken through a lot of these like lower level library, difficulties that have been kind of plaguing me for a while. And the atomic pointer too, I've been trying to get that to work right for a long time, which is basically just a pointer that doesn't need any locks. It's all doing atomic instructions, but it's using atomic instructions for the access of the actual pointed data, so that it can't get race conditions even on the pointer swapping. that's fun. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much just like finishing up the stuff, not like a whole lot of really challenging stuff. So it's just kind of the mucky, man, I got to finish this a little bit. And I've been keeping this API over here open, and it just needs to be finished. So yeah, we're pretty close, man. I'd say I'd give it like, I'm going to be traveling for a couple weeks. So when I get back, like it should be wrapped up like pretty close. Like I wouldn't say soon, but anyway, yeah. So, do you want to go next, Qui?
Is it me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
you. Okay. So for my update, recently my main focus was on refactoring and refactoring the code and upgrading the module system. I try to have as many upgrades that we want at once as you can, because you wouldn't want that we have you wouldn't want many breaking changes one after another, but you want as many breaking changes at once as you can. So for the last few months, I was working on a lot of breaking changes for the module system, and that's I think I can say that at the moment it's pretty much done. The one thing that I'm still working on is the auto download and upgrade system for the modules. Currently, you have to manually download the new versions of the modules when it has updated. But I'm currently working on making that download and install automatic, and also the idea that Kendall and Collins told me, the list of official modules on the wallet itself. So that's what I'm working on. And I also create an NPM package called Nexus Modules that it would make it contains some useful functions and constants for that. It's kind of like a helper package that would make the module developer life easier, and that would save some effort for someone to start making a module. So so that's what I've been working on, and what I'm working on at the moment. And for the next things, I think as soon as Collins finished the API upgrade, no, I mean the API documentations, I would take a look at the desktop wallet and the mobile wallet too, to ensure that everything is updated with the new API. And of course, there would be some testing and debugging things that make sure that it's ready to go before it's published. So that's my update. Do you have any questions on or Kendall? We will go next.
Yep. We'll take questions at the end, and we'll let Kendall go right here.
Okay. So
ready, Kendall?
Yep. Yeah, I'm ready. All right. So we've kind of been obviously working a lot on cleaning a lot of things up, refactoring a lot of things, breaking changes. But we, me and Key feel like the desktop's, well, it's in a really good state. And we are actively, preparing for this new release. But me specifically, I have been working with our support team on making test builds, testing these builds with our test net that we have available, figuring out things that work and don't work and whatnot, and then relaying some of that information to Colin. I'm also helping Colin with trying to fix a couple things here and there that I feel capable of fixing. So we're all kind of everyone's kind of hands on deck and getting all this put together. I know everyone loves timeframes, and we love not making timeframes, but I do feel that we will be slowly increasing the amount of people testing the new wallet, and we are very eager to get some of this feedback looked at. And I think this is a very major upgrade to 3.0, our desktop 3.0. And we're very excited to have people finally starting to look into this, or to start to play around with this. So yeah, like I said, this is definitely on the horizon. We have, like I said, the support teams been testing build. I'm making builds daily or twice daily to give to them, and we're getting a really good process down on getting things built and tested. And I've created a new automated script that is a lot easier. Just you just say build, and it builds the one you want, and gets everything set up. So these processes have taken a while, but it's all running really smoothly now. So we are, in desktop wise, we are in the stage where slowly but surely we're getting more people involved, more testers, and it's gonna be good. So I really feel like, I'll give a mobile update. There's really not much of a mobile update, but the mobile wallet should be continue to function, and we will try and upgrade those as quickly as possible, so that those users do not experience any downtime. There might be a little downtime, but we don't think it's going to be too bad. The client mode works really well. We just have to, clean up a couple of things here and there, and we should be. I definitely feel like with this new release, with 5.1, we'll probably move the mobile wallets to an actual release. So get it out of beta, or get it out of the pre-release state and have it fully released, which will help with exposure. That allows, well, for Google, it's still searchable, but for Apple, having it released, obviously makes it searchable in the store, in the App Store, and we'll be able to get a lot more users that way, so they don't have to install a test flight or anything like that. So there might be a little bit of a challenge there. Apple can be a little bit hard to work with, but we've always felt that our app does not violate any guidelines or anything like that. So we just need to harden some of this core stuff, and when that's ready, we could start rebuilding these mobile wallets and put them out there, and hopefully verification process goes smoothly and we can get those out there, because we have a lot of users that use the mobile wallets almost exclusively. So we want to make sure to not give them any amount of significant downtime. If we need to, obviously if we need to take down the previous versions because of incompatibility with the newest blockchain, we want to make sure we can put up new versions extremely quickly, so there's no downtime or anything like that. So, I believe that's my update for this. And we've, like Khan said earlier, we've kind of facilitated. They're not new roles. Me and Key are not like in a different role. It's more of just our roles are a little bit more defined. So I'm like, Key is more UI user experience interface. That's why it's called interface. As me, as Logical is a little bit more of the software, actual like application layer that the interface then sits on top of. But it's cool to finally like get or have that a little bit more definition, and that not that we, like I said, not that we didn't already do that, but it just allows just mentally to focus on something a little bit more concrete. But so that's my update, and we're very excited for people to start using our new wallet. So
then to add a little bit to that too, one of the brushing ups of client mode that I'm doing is also making it work fully functional on the desktop wallet, because we want to support client mode.
Right. Yeah, because that's something that we are
people that don't have hard drives
so obviously we want people to I think obviously staking is a big part of Nexus. That's one of their pillars on how to how the whole blockchain continues to function, but we understand that not everyone wants to run their computer 24/7. Not everyone has a node, or not everyone has all that stuff. So to have those people on client mode, which is less intensive to their computer, and they don't need all this other data, will mean that our application will be extremely light, and it won't be like this big, you have a crypto wallet on your computer, better not use it for anything else because it's just toast. So it'll be awesome to have this mode a little bit more. I don't remember if we've decided if it's going to be, I think we did decide that it's going to be, we have a prompt on switching to light mode.
We want to sync in the background. What we want to do is launch the wallet as a client, so that when you first fire up your wallet, the setup, you don't have to bootstrap. It should sync on a desktop. It syncs in like a minute. Takes like 200 megabytes of disk space, so it's really lightweight. It won't support staking though in client mode. That's one thing, just because of the transaction history. So if you want to produce blocks, you'll have to have a full node, right? But it's going to be like a quick setup for you. So if you want to transition to a full node, you can select that. Hey, I want to bootstrap, and then you'll bootstrap while you're still running your client mode. And then we want to do all of that kind of in the background. So it's
right. Yeah. So we don't want
backup. So it's a quick startup for people.
Yeah. Cause we don't want people to like, cause especially in the beginning, the first like million blocks is just like so slow with the old protocol. So like, kind of like, I mean, obviously like you want that if you're staking, right? You need to have that data. But I mean, a lot of users don't need that. And to have them just get up and going. And like you said, it's like, yeah, I think it's 200 to 300 megabytes well, it's probably maybe a little bit more now since the last time we checked, but regardless, this is not like a 4 gigabyte file or anything like that. So it's going to be really quick. People are going to get in, they'll be able to create accounts or log into their existing account really quickly and be able to interact with their with Nexus or the blockchain or anything like that really quickly. So yeah, that's going to be really awesome.
Yeah. Like we have a lot of support issues too with people. Hey, I ran out of disk space. Like it's surprising how many people don't have any disk space because I can never fill it up. But yeah, so it's gonna be really good. It's a big step towards it, and I guess we'll do some questions after we do Andrew. Do you wanna go do your thing, Andrew? Here. Ask to unmute. Here you go. Okay.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Thanks, guys. I got to say, I'm really looking forward to 5.1 and the new wallet. It sounds pretty amazing. In terms of mining, we've been making some good progress. I don't know, do you guys remember a couple months ago when there was a new release and the hash pool, the black miner pool, got off the main chain? And there like wasn't any ability for anybody to switch pools, and the hash mining was in a little bit of chaos for a couple of days. You guys remember that? Well, so starting just a few days ago, we released a new hash pool that's totally open source. It's in beta mode right now, but it's working. It's creating blocks. So if that were to ever happen again, we have a new hash pool that we can point to that anybody can use, including the black miner pools, black miner users. So really excited about that. So that means today we have 2 different pools. We have a prime pool. So if you want to mine the prime channel and you have an NVIDIA card that's GTX 1070 or newer, you can mine, you can help validate transactions, you can support the network, and you can earn some Nexus doing it. And we also have a hash pool. So if you've got a black miner FPGA or any other FPGA, or you just want to use a GPU to do it, you can do that too, using our pool or any of the other pools that are up and running right now. The big thing we're working on, besides finishing the release of the hash pool, is the port to use AMD hardware on prime mining. So right now you can mine the prime channel, which is a major improvement. Compared to a year ago, we made about a 10x improvement in the efficiency of prime mining with GPUs. So that's competitive today. But it only works on NVIDIA hardware, and we want to be able to have these decentralized open source tools to maximize the total number of miners that we have going. And in order to do that, we have to support AMD hardware. And that's what I'm in the middle of right now is porting some of the specialized NVIDIA libraries to generic code so we can run it on both types of hardware. My expectation is that we will have that in beta by the end of March. So anybody who is having trouble getting NVIDIA hardware and can get your hands on AMD, that's where we're at. Otherwise, we're in pretty good shape on the mining front. More features to the pool, stats, both pools. We're going to get the hash pool released and keep plugging away.
Cool. So everybody knows too that what they've managed to do with the Prime mining channel is it's been a problem since about 2017 because some people figured out some algorithms that other people couldn't figure out, and the Prime is a very complex algorithm to get right. So they competitive is a huge step for mining decentralization. Pulls up, and you guys have 2 FPGAs now as well, right? You developed 2
Yeah,
FPGA
so
miners?
we have support for 2 open source FPGAs plus BlackMiner, which is a third, using their closed source FPGA.
So yep, so it's more open to the public. Anyone can get an FPGA now. Anyone can mine on the Prime channel. So the way it was designed is that the hash channel originally was for GPUs. The Prime channel was originally CPUs, and then GPUs eventually migrated over to the Prime channel, and then the hash channel became, you know, FPGA and eventually ASIC. So the Prime channel should stay ASIC FPGA resistant for ad infinitum. The algorithms is far too complicated, requires too much memory. It doesn't really give you much advantage using an FPGA, and it's not because it's a memory hard algorithm like a lot of people do. Those are still easy to break. You just add more DRAM in, right? But this is yeah, it's good. It's the natural flow of how everything nice. I'm really impressed with what Andrew and the mining team have done. They've really it's a difficult problem to solve because, you know, when somebody does come up with a faster miner, then they'd be like, well, why am I going to give it to them? I could just use it myself, right? So it took a really unique, you know, type of people to do it, and Andrew and them managed to pull it off, which is like, it's a huge step for like the decentralization of Nexus, the overall mining security, and also, you know, it gives people a place to park their GPUs, right? GPUs are getting phased out of Ethereum, GPUs are getting phased out of all these others, so the Prime channel should always be a nice GPU haven, right? And then the, you know, the hash channel will just continue to go FPGA, and eventually it'll go ASIC. So we'll have the best of both worlds. We'll get the security of the ASICs, we get the decentralization of the GPUs, and then, you know, the trust channel, you know, the staking kind of counterbalances all of that too. So it's lots of big steps, man. I'm really happy with it all. And I forgot to add too, really unique features like operators. I mentioned this last time, but you can actually, in the API now, you can run statistical analysis on the data that you've queried. So I could query like all my transactions from these specific dates, and then I can filter it to a specific field, and then I can run that into an array if I just want a JSON array of just like raw data, if I want to run it through a graph. Or I can just run it into a standard deviation, or I can do a sum, or I can do a mean, or I can do a median, or I can do a mode, or whatever. So you get all these really cool statistical functions built into the API now. So like if you want to find out, hey, how much, you know, money was I paid over the last 3 months, you just do a date query, you use the date variable, right? So instead of having to plug in a Unix timestamp, you can literally just type date and then, you know, 1122 or whatever. And then that will actually derive and calculate that Unix timestamp for you. And then you run that through a filter to say, okay, I want, you know, the balance. And then you run that as a sum. And then boom, you have your sum of all your transactions over a specific period amount. So it's really powerful now in the API. It's kind of a blend of like an API and Excel, but it's kind of like a programmable Excel in a way. So you have all of this built-in functionality that saves you a lot of work too. If you're like, you know, doing the interface or logical stuff, like, you know, usually they have to pull the API data in and then run some of their own logical layer computation or do all their sorts and filters. It's all automatically sorted, automatically filtered now. And the slowest runtime is 1 second, 1.5 seconds for an entire global blockchain lookup. Like I want to look up every single register that starts with the letter L. It takes about 1.5 seconds. Most of these other ones are like 50 to 100 milliseconds, which is a big improvement. When I first got to it, I mean, I tried to do a transaction lookup on a big SIG chain, and it was like 15 minutes later. I'm like, where is it? Like, you know, so it's come a really, really long way as far as speed, efficiency, and functionality, right? And it's super modular now too. So I coded it so I don't have to code it again. So what I mean by that is it's all templated. So I mean I were 1,500 lines of code when I started it. Now, because it's just running through all these different generic templates, right? So you don't really have to like the code was copy and pasted through a lot of these commands. Now it's just straight templated code. So if we want to add another API or you want to add another object, that's in there, right? And it's hard coded now, so you have to set a schema for the object, but I set it up for object modeling. So you'll be able to just say, hey, I want to create an object in this API, and I want to make the API dynamic to an extent. So you can say, I want to add an object to the supply chain API for my specific local node that's based off of a schema that I've referenced in the blockchain. And that's where you start to get this object modeling, where you can actually just add objects into each API specific to your app, right? So you can actually build the API without building the API with code with C++, right? It's setting it up to be more automated for you as a developer, and lots of really powerful tools, right? Like the operators was a cool multi filters, and array, unique, like a data filter where you compile it into like, I want to run as array or I want to run as a unique array. And then you can run, you can even run floor, like I want to knock out the decimal points, then I want to run a mode on that or whatever. Like, so there's lots of really powerful features in that. And I'm documenting all of that stuff in, and every API supports the query functionality. So anytime you do a list or anything, you're able to just derive any level, and it supports any level of and or and recursion. So it's a fully recursive query language, which means you could add any, this and this, or this and this and this and this and or this, blah, 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 blah. And you can go to any level and you just keep adding parentheses. And it really allows you to drill down to any level of the blockchain that you really want to see. And like I said, it adds an incredible search functionality that really we're eventually getting to decentralized search, right? If you have assets, that represent a specific website, that asset indexed on an open indexing system with an open algorithm so that anyone can see, oh, this is how these results are derived, so on and so forth. So it's really like, I'm really happy how it all kind of evolved from just like, okay, this is a fix up, to all these new features kind of came in from it. So it's been really cool. It's been a really cool adventure finishing this up, but we're really excited to share it with you guys, definitely. And there's lots of really cool stuff like coming after this too, because we've been spending a lot of time now like defining our roles, like getting our starfish like fully activated, the formalities of it, and then just setting up all these processes too, so that like as we get further, like once we get through this update, things are going to be a lot more rapid, because I've been setting things up in the API too to not have to constantly code the API anymore. So it's going to be pretty much turnkey from here. I'll just have to add a few hundred lines. We won't even need a full API coder anymore, right? So we've been spending time now, so we don't have to spend time later, right? And that really helps a lot with the efficiency of the development, and that'll help us be and not be as get the same essentially effect. We run through questions real quick, and I'll direct them to anyone. So we got one from Mate. I think this one will go to you, Kendall. Is there any preparation steps that need to be done with the mobile wallet on the desktop wallet, or the desktop wallet? There will be a notification prior to release on the update.
Yeah, so the this new update will just run through our auto update system, and then what we can do and so that'll give you a notification to upgrade for the mobile versions. I think we can just do a straight upgrade. We might have to revoke the previous downloads, and so that would give a notification to the user that they can't use that application anymore. But I think if you add another version, I think the Google system will pop up in its notification saying that you have an app that needs a manual download, or not a manual download, but a manual permissions. When you accept the new permissions or whatever. I think that's how it'll work. I definitely could be wrong, but we have some systems in place to kind of get these people to get everyone upgraded and whatnot.
Cool. Thanks, Kendall. Next one, I think this one would go to me. Victor got a job at Google. We'll keep in touch. He's just not as full-time because when he was working with Cisco, he had a better idea of his time. So I've just been kind of letting him settle into his new job. We still chat. We still go to we meet up and we talk architecture here and there. So Victor's still involved, but he's just not like directly involved in being on payroll right now. So he's kind of volunteering and helping on the side. The other guy, he's still going through his personal stuff. So like I said, I've known him for about 3 or 4 years. We've been talking about getting him involved for then. So when he's ready, he'll come. and right now, I mean, we're a little bit of a shoestring budget. So, I mean, what we got is what we got. But like I said, we've been developing a lot of protocols to increase the efficiency of our development without the need for more hands. A lot of the perception is that more developers is better, but that's not necessarily true. You want to have really efficient processes and really efficient developers. And then it becomes better if you add an efficient developer. But if you add inefficient developers, I mean, Kendall.
Oh yeah, I know.
You and me ended up, I mean, it's just so having. I mean, look at what I've been doing with 5.1. Like, we had a developer for 2 years that was working on the API, and I've had to redo 2 years worth of his work because it just wasn't good enough, right? So it's just, we're a lot more discerning and picky with the developers now. So that's why we're just waiting for the right ones to come around. And honestly, we're chugging away. We don't really feel like we have a workload that's like over our heads. We're all pretty chill. Like, I mean, everybody's got their own budget now. So, I mean, I think the mining arm, you have four or five people, Andrew, is that correct? So they have 4 or 5 developers in the mining arm, and then just logical and interface and Tao, it's just me, Kui, and Kendall, right? And we haven't really felt the need. I want to get Krishna involved to help, download my mind into his so that we have redundancy, right? That's the biggest thing. And he's somebody that can. He's a very, very thorough that I feel like I can really work with and really teach to get this. And he's got financial technologies. So, that'll come when it'll come. And then Queen and Kendall can just, they can hire whenever they want. But from what we've discussed, you guys don't feel like you really need to hire too much right now. You guys have been scripting it and building other stuff. So, I mean, when the time comes, it may come, but we're pretty efficient developers too. So, I mean, everybody kind of does their own thing and then we combine it back together. So we haven't really felt too much of a need, but when the time comes, the time will come. Is Tritium ++ upgrade coming this year? Well, 5.1 is Tritium++, so do the math. What is the most bullish recent or upcoming new feature of Nexus? I mean, I'm really bullish on the queries. Like, that's never been done before, period, right? Another one that I'm bullish on is remote logging. So I'm building the session stuff right now. I'm refactoring all the users. Have like a login, a remote login, and a network login. So like, somebody logs into your node, they sign a key, an auth key, and then that elevates them to a new level. And that's where you can start time seeding and sending seeds, because that's kind of like an elevated level of trust where you can identify each individual. You don't know who they are, but you know that they're not somebody pretending to be somebody else, right? So that sets up the foundation for remote login. So if I go to a website, right, we want it to support, I go to a website, I click login with Nexus. But I don't want to type my password in on their website, right? Because that's going to give them, credentials. And passing credentials over forms, to me, is just, it's a security hazard, right? And then storing even hashes of your passwords in a database, it's still a security hazard. So, you remove that attack surface by moving it onto your local. So what's going to happen with remote login is, let's say you have your mobile phone up, you go log in with Nexus, you type in your username, and it'll click, okay, logging in, boom, little screen. And what their web app is going to do is they're going to have hey, username, you're requesting a login, and then a little dialog will pop up on your phone. You'll be like, oh, okay, this app is requesting access to your SIG chain. Okay, I want to only give them access to blah, 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 or I want to create a new credential or something. And then boom, you can log into the site. And then from their website, you request transactions to be generated if their site requires it. And that transaction is generated on your local device, right? And then it's sent back to them. And then you just use public key cryptography to authenticate who you are without having to reveal any credentials. So that's going to be a really powerful feature, because it's going to make all, login with Nexus buttons login lists, right? People have been working on new authentication systems using public key cryptography because it's just like one click go, and you don't have to remember passwords and type in all this stuff. And so what your SIG chain will end up being with this login with Nexus is a credential management system, right? You'll be able to have that, and you'll be able to create profiles too. So I'll say, I want to create this profile for this app. Hey, this app is requesting, do you want to use your main SIG chain? It's still accessible for credentials, but it'll just have slight additional entropy on that, so that it's not the direct credentials, but you'll know it once you logged in your main SIG chain, how to get into that, right? And that's going to also create additional anonymity features where you'll be able to have multiple SIG chains for different purposes, right? And that sets the stage for like, hey, if you have social media on a specific SIG chain, I'm going to create a profile for it, right? So I'm really bullish about the remote login. I'm really bullish about the query language, because that's and the operators is really powerful. I mean, even for me, just doing accounting stuff, like I don't have to pull data and then convert it to a CSV and then import it into Excel and then run my little computations on it to find out even how much was there, right? It just one click go, right? And the variables is really fun too. So, I mean, I like these features because they've never been done before, right? There's never been a query language written over a blockchain because most of the blockchain architectures just don't really support that. Then the last those features that are done. The feature that I'm really excited about in the future is the file system. I think the file system is going to do good for people. It's going to produce, a lot of new economic opportunity where it wasn't there before, and that's going to set up, the foundation of our decentralized hosting, right? Which, that file system will be extended into the satellites, so it'll be kind of a higher level, elevated security level of that. So I'm really excited about those things. I think that's going to be huge, and the DAO is really cool too. This coming, so the file system and the DAO are coming at 7.0. 6.0 is going to be pooled staking, LLD, atomic libraries, all of that, kind of a preparatory step, and then 7.0 is basically our global DAO and the file system, right? And augmented contracts as well. So that's going to be, we're going to unlock the virtual machine to have full, not Turing complete, like we're not doing loops, right? Loops are kind of retarded in blockchains, but we're going to do really, you'll have the power fundamental data structures, like all of that stuff, just using registers under the hood. So that's really exciting for me too, because that's going to really open up the capabilities of Nexus. Right now, to code a contract, you have to know the bytecode. So the conditional virtual machine will have its own language in 6.0, and then that will be augmented into the actual augmented contracts, which will have its own language again. It'll feel kind of like C++. And like I said, it's going to have a lot of those features such as operator overloading. So, if you want to like make your account a little more secure, you'd be able to say, okay, well, I want this one to have an operator overload for debit. And, on that operator overload, I'm going to check the value. And if it's greater than 10, I'm going to return false, right? And what that will do is say you can only withdraw 10 Nexus at a time from this. And then you can maybe add a time frame in there. Oh, only 10 Nexus per day, so on and so forth. So that allows you to really regulate your accounts a lot more precisely, right? So that's another feature I'm really excited to see roll out. I think that's and get that. I think somebody was asking where this is completely finished based on roadmap percentage. To be honest, Tritium is the most complicated part of it. As it may seem like the rest is going to be more complicated. The rest, and Obsidian are really just ledger level upgrades. Writing the whole stack, like Tritium is the whole stack, the 7-layer stack, right? We had to write it from scratch. So once the Tritium 7.0 is done, like it's going to be pretty quick. Like so how Amine will work. When Amine's launched, you'll still be able to run in Tritium mode. There's going to be no. You're not going to be required to run an Amine node. You'll be able to opt your SigChain into an Amine shard to start processing on the shard, but the shards are going to still process over Tritium blocks, right? And so that's like the phase in for Amine to start the parallelization, and then Obsidian is just kind of wrapping that up with the mining. So, it's complicated as it was pulling Tritium and like getting that out of the lab. That's been a really difficult part, and then we've taken a year or two to just like let it run and make sure that everything's solid, because it's, when you throw 100,000 lines of new code out, you miss one symbol, bad stuff happens. So, it's going pretty well. I want to have a lot of stuff done by 2024. That's where my personal goals are, right? But time is time, things happen. So, but that's where I'm really shooting for, right? Like even in the lab with like some of the SAT stuff, like I'm building little 433 megahertz Adreno mesh networks and stuff, so I can start modeling the routing system and stuff. So, once we get another developer, that's where I'm going to be able to go more into the operating system, and I'll have the TAO matured enough where they can help from there. So, I'd say we're probably like 30%, a third, and then Tritium ++ will probably push it to like 40-50% done. And then a quarter of it is because they're really targeting one layer, right? So it's pretty well. Getting Tritium done was a huge step. I don't know if you guys realize how much went into that. We pretty much had to just all the way from scratch, right? But it works great now, and it's been really cool to see good architecture, because it's good architecture when you do something and then it just happens to be like, oh, this fits. Bad architecture is like, oh, I do this and then another thing pops up over here and that pops up. Like, so it's really well formed, and building the client mode was really awesome to see how well it works in just this limited environment, limited data environment, and it just as secure as a full node. So yeah, just wanted to cover that a little bit. What is a contract DSL? Is it a contract language? So DSL stands for domain specific language. So the contract DSL is just going to be a human writable language where you can add like right now, there's the default contract that says if I and you don't claim it in a day, it's going to come back to me, right? That's a conditional contract. So that's written all in bytecode, which means you have to know the actual instruction to send to the conditional virtual machine. The DSL is just going to be a human readable language that will compile into the bytecode so that you'll be able to start modeling and writing your own custom conditional contracts a little easier. We're still going to have our standards process because you won't be able to access a custom contract unless you wrote it, from the contract selection. When you say, I want to choose the contract, we still have the standard templates because those are important, because that's how we kind of manage the security of them. We don't want, hundreds of millions of dollars disappearing because somebody makes a mistake in the contract. So we've been developing that standards process, and same with the modules that Kui was talking about too. He's working on the module store, and what he's saying is we're going to have a sig chain that becomes the standards for the modules that we can just search for the modules from that. And now the module store, you'll be able to search for your keywords so there's lots of really cool. And then the sorting and the filtering and the paging was also a really big thing, because before it didn't really do that so well. Now it sorts, filters, pages really, really quick. And the wallet guys, actually, if you notice, like when you load your transaction history and your sig chain's a little big, it can take a minute to load the transaction history because they have to dump all of that transaction data into their wallet, and then they have to sort and filter it on the logical and interface layers, which is less efficient than in C++. So now it all just comes straight out auto-filtered, and it actually doesn't have to sort twice. Usually you have to build your list and then you sort. It sorts as it builds a list. So it's really as efficient as it can be. And we need that for dealing with a really large data set. So it handles really large sig chains now, not a problem. It's very well indexed under the hood. And when I finish all the rest of this, it's going to be even faster because I'm indexing this specific sig chain, so you don't have to search through a sig chain anymore to find some. Boom, 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 just with the names now. You used to have to search through potentially thousands of transactions to find a name. Now it's all this straight index, so you only have to do one database read instead of 1,000, right? So, think about that. You're running 1,000 requests per second. You got 1,000 lookups for each that you're not going to get 1,000 requests per second, because you got so many data lookups. So this really helps speed everything up a lot on a per node level. So really excited about that. Let me see. Is Nexus Cloud coming out with 7.0? Yeah, I mean, that's the file system, right? So the file system is like your own decentralized cloud where you own a little slice of this, and then that sets a stage for the operating system, right? That's how you get this distributed operating system, because your files aren't locally bound to your computer. And that's one thing that we're really, like a sig chain, you can log into your sig chain from any computer in the world, and you don't have to worry about storing your keys. Think of that in the cloud rather than on the computer, right? But it's peer-to-peer, right? So I'm not paying this big atrocious company to go make sweatshops in China or whatever. I'm actually paying somebody that I know needs that money. Like, it could be somebody that doesn't have that economic opportunity. They run their computer, they have electricity, they have a little bit of internet, and that could mean food for them, right? So that's one thing that I'm really excited about. That is, I think it's going to really help level the economic disparity between different borders and countries, right? There's just no economic opportunity in these countries that are succumbed to hyperinflation. I mean, it's crazy. So one thing that I feel like we can really do is to provide those economic opportunities where they weren't there before. So that's one thing I'm really excited about the file system for. What upcoming use case are you most hyped about? That would be an ambassador question. I know my signals. I live out in the worst I could get. Sorry, guys. It's like I got I don't know, I get like maybe less than a megabyte a second. It's not good. So sorry for the bad uplink. Oh, we'll maybe maybe Kendall, you got good, better internet probably. Maybe someone else hosts it next time. It might work a little bit better than me, because I think I just have bad uplinks. So when I'm uplinking to YouTube and then going through Zoom, like, and my internet, you probably get something every few minutes. My internet does it. So it's just like, oh, it's not working right now. My cell phone's faster than it is sometimes. So sorry. We'll figure that out. Okay. Okay, we'll see you in your speech, guys. Yes, just for all. We're doing more speeches. I got a few conferences I'm invited to. I'm doing a workshop and a speech in Mexico. Engagements, podcasts, and you'll be seeing a lot more of that. We're also on we're working on more videos. We're going to be talking about quantum financial system stuff, like, not like in support, but just to explain why it's a scam. But things like that. So we're getting the content moving more. And this year is definitely like there's gonna be a lot more. I'm already like the year turned over, and it's just like, hey, come to this conference, come here. It's like, okay, it's time to come out of the cave. So you'll be seeing a lot more of that this year, definitely. When marketing and Nexus, Ziek, watch the ambassador Zoom. They did that like last week. You will get all the information on all the marketing that is happening right. We're developers. We don't market. Ambassadors do the marketing. So marketing stuff, talk to the ambassadors or watch the video. They'll fill you in on all of that. No marketing, no big community. Okay. Like bidding happening, man. Just because like we're in a bear market doesn't mean that we're not marketing. Okay. So just get rid of that narrative. Okay. That's Keith and Preston days. They didn't market. Okay. We got a whole team of like 30, 40 people doing marketing now on the ambassador side. So just chill. There's lots going on. If you want to add your suggestions to them, reach out to the ambassador chairs, right? They do all the marketing stuff. They're working on sponsorships. I mean, there's lots of really cool stuff. If you watch that video, you'd be like, whoa, dude, these guys have been on it. Okay. So how many days for the release of 5.1? Mahama. Remember, we don't do timelines. I'm not going to tell you a day because you're just going to get mad at us if that day doesn't happen when you want it. Okay, so we're not giving timelines, but I won't say soon either. But it's pretty close to wrapped up. A lot of the feature build out is done. The complicated things are finished. Just a couple little refactors, some touching up, a little bit of stuff. You guys are asking if it's going to be this year. Come on, guys. Look at the code. It's gonna be this year. Okay. Guys, yeah, marketing is a massive thing. All right. Any other questions you guys want to direct to anybody before we close? I think we're just at about an hour, so it's usually a good time. Or any other comments you guys want to add? Anything you forgot to say? Anything you want to say? Speak freely while we're waiting to see if we get any more questions. Otherwise, we can wrap up.
I was just gonna say, we have GitHub. It shows when we upload code, and we've been uploading code daily for the past months. We've still been uploading code, so you can kind of put two and two together.
Yeah, and I mean, good things take time. Like we take the principle of quality, right? That's why Nexus is fast. That's why the wallet opens instantly, right? We could have launched Tritium without that, and we could have gotten it done faster. But you guys like the wallet opening. Team quality. We're quality coders. It's just quality times. But the best things in life you got to wait for. So that's that. I mean, it's just how it goes. So when you have quality, that's just how it works. It'll take as long as it'll take, but you guys saw Tritium, when it comes, it's good. So, this is going to be really good too. I mean, Kendall managed to get a node to compile on an iPhone. Okay. You guys don't understand what that means. Nobody's done that. Nobody's run a node on an iPhone. Nobody runs nodes on phones. We run nodes on phones. Like that. What that means is it's decentralized, it's non-custodial, and it'll scale, and it will not have any downtime, right? Because the BitPay wallet or all those, they deal with this proxy. And if you've ever noticed, like, oh, hey, my BitPay wallet's not refreshing right now, it's because the proxy's down, right? It's still running on centralized infrastructure, and it's the illusion of decentralization with most crypto wallets. Like, we are decentralized purists. Decentralized, we want everything decentralized so that there's no infrastructure that will bring the network down. And so the mobile phone, I mean, Kendall really killed it on that, man. Like that was, he went through the ringer so many times to figure that out, but he did it. He did it, right? And that's just a huge step. So these are principles that you guys will notice with us, that what we do, right? In the near term, you might be like, oh, hey, centralized wallets work great, blah. But, you know, in the long term, you'll see why we want to be decentralized, because centralized infrastructure is just going to crumble. I mean, look at all these stupid bridges. Like Solana made a bridge to Ethereum. Oh, $200 million hacked. Great. That's what happens when you don't put the time into building it right. You lose $200 million. So just so you know, that I just wanted to reiterate all of that. This is why we have these principles, and we're about quality first and foremost, because the narrative in blockchain is blockchains don't scale. Well, we've managed to get a single dimensional blockchain to scale pretty well compared to the other ones, right? And then in order to do it, it's kind of an art, you know. Decentralization really is kind of an art. It's easy to scale a centralized system, but decentralized, there's so many factors. A decentralized, open, permissionless system, it takes a lot of really unique algorithms to make it work. So, you know, it'll take what it'll take, but you guys will appreciate it when it's there. Let me see if there's any more questions. When will Sirius be bootstrapped? Sirius is already bootstrapping in my lab. Like I said, I'm working on 433 megahertz transmitters. When we get to the file system done, we're going to kick some serious stuff off with, you know, little staking nodes and little file system nodes, so you can run a little Nux in your house and start, you know, leasing out that disk space. So we're going to start with little devices. I'm prototyping some stuff. I'm studying the Biefeld-Brown effect, you know, electrokinetics for different propulsion systems, hydrogen, that's bootstrapping. Most of the stuff in Sirius is going to be open sourced. In the conference I'm doing on Friday, I'm going to be explaining some of the social architecture, and you guys will find out the legal structures that Sirius is going to be under. Sirius is going to somewhat be kind of like a NASDAQ for tech. It's going to be its own little internal exchange, and I'll explain to you how that will work legally, right? Because we found ways finally. So that's bootstrapping in the background. I mean, Sirius has always been kind of cooking in the background. So, you know, when I'm testing some code, I go in the lab and stuff. So we'll probably be closer to 7.0, we'll start, you know, getting some products out there, some hardware that you guys can start buying. You know, that's where we're going to kind of bootstrap it. That's where we're going to start it, but then, you know, it's going to grow from there. Let's see. Any updates about hardware and actually what is Nexus hardware? Yeah, so that was updates on hardware. Right now, I'm working on Adreno mesh networks, 433 megahertz channels with GPS chips to build a real modeled routing system. So the other hardware is devices, staking devices, disk devices. I mean, smart locks too. That's another thing. Probably not immediately, but you know, all locks can be picked, right? That's when you call a locksmith. What are they doing? They're picking your lock. So anybody that's got lock picks or, you know, clothespins can pick your lock. So now imagine a cryptographically authenticated smart lock, right? So we're going to be getting to a lot of IoT devices, little gizmos and gadgets like that is definitely something. Then, you know, satellite tokenization stuff, that's going to be coming in, and we're going to be through Sirius. There's going to be, you know, tokens issued for that specific initial constellation, so on and so forth. So we'll be getting to more of that, but the hardware is being developed in the background right now. It's just not something that we're presenting and selling yet. It's still in prototype phase, but hardware is being built. So, you know, I'm working on hydrogen for power, parametric resonance, and, you know, electrokinetics, and, you know, a lot of the gizmos. And like I said, the Adreno mesh network, just so I can actually model the routing system on real hardware and like walk over there and have them still find each other and connect to the mapping system, so that we can develop the router, which is going to be the most complicated part of the operating system. We want to develop the router on just modeled real mobile hardware, so we can make sure that everything's going, and then we just drop that in and add it over more complex hardware. So yeah, the hardware is going well. I mean, I got my lab full of lots of gizmos and gadgets now, so I'm a happy camper. Will we have separate people who would be working for Sirius? Sirius is Sirius, man. I mean, it's just Sirius and Nexus are, you know, they're close. I mean, I don't really like to stipulate things like that. If you want to help Sirius, you can help with Sirius. If you want to help with Nexus, cool. If you want to do both, cool, whatever. You know, it's just whoever's passionate about it can join it. it's not just have work opportunities in it. It's going to have, tech incubation opportunities too, so if you got an idea that you want to bring to fruition, Sirius will be a place to do that. So, they're interlinked, but, if you want to get involved in it, you can. If you don't, you don't. It's kind of open door policy with me. Like if you feel passionate about it, you want to get involved, get involved. It doesn't matter if you're on Nexus. They're different legal structures, so you'll be dealing in different legal places, but that doesn't mean you can't get involved on both. Any more questions before we close? Okay. Do you guys have any other comments, things that you want to give an update on? No? We're good. Well, this will conclude our quarterly update. We will have our next quarterly update. I think that will be when it's almost February. We'll probably shoot for around June. That's when, we did. Yeah, maybe May. We'll see. This one was a little bit after the quarter started, but yeah, sometime around then, I'd suspect we'll want to release 5.1 first, and then when we get closer to 6.0, we'll probably do another quarterly update so you guys can know. But if you ever need, more questions, answering stuff, we're happy to answer them in Telegram. And you guys know, so now you see each of us. Andrew Hatstat is El Jefe, and then Kui is Christo. Do you still go by Christo on Telegram? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to finish the directory for the developers, and I'll post that in Telegram so you guys can have all of our Telegram handles. If you got feedback or you have questions, we'll have that. And then all of us too are running our own individual SIG chain. So I'll include those audit links just like we have for the ambassadors, so you can audit, how each, arm of the developer branch is paying and using their money, right? Since everything's 100% transparent. So yeah, I guess thank you for joining us, everybody. And we hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you guys next time.